So after a year of having built my first tank model, I decided to start the Leopard as my first airbrushed tank model. The reason was that the previously built model had been brush painted, so I wanted to try out my skills with an airbrush. Out of the box, the kit had a sprue bag and an instruction and decal sheet included. Here you can see the first sprue with the road wheels and tracks, the second sprue with the upper and lower hulls, the third with the turret and armor plates, the fourth with the main gun, and the final one with extra lower hull armor reinforcement for the 2A6M version. I began by drilling the holes into the side assembly of the lower hull with a pin vise for the return rollers. The lower hull, the side skirts, and the very small shock absorbers, 14 in total, were fitted together. The road wheel suspension system was then fitted to the lower hull, another 14 small parts in total. I then started working on the rear sprocket, front idler wheel, the return rollers, and the road wheels. The sprockets, idler, and road wheels had 2 parts each, and for both sides of the tank this amounted to a total of 40 parts. I then mounted the wheels onto some Play-Doh attached to an old credit card for ease of painting later on. The instructions then mentioned bending the tracks using warm water, and this was one of the most tedious tasks to perform. I ended up snapping one of the tracks because I didn't bend it enough in the warm water. Nonetheless, I fixed it up with super glue later on and went ahead with painting the tracks first, followed by the underside of the tank with Fevicryl black, followed by the road wheels with improvised olive drab. The painted wheels were then attached to the suspension, and I began detailing the road wheel rims with Fevicryl black. The tracks were then fitted very carefully, and this completed the assembly of the lower portion of the Leopard. I then added Play-Doh to give some weight to the tank, and then moved on to the assembly of the upper hull and the rear radiator section. The side armor, the spare tracks, the driver's hatch, and the extremely small and fiddly headlights were then attached to the upper hull. Next came the quite complicated assembly of the turret of the tank. The turret was in 4 parts, but the instructions were very vague and it wasn't easy to decipher the fitment of parts So, with a lot of trial and error and referring to detailed pictures on the internet, I was finally able to piece the turret together. This was at least 6 to 7 hours of work, but that's the fun of it all. Finally, with the main gun assembled, I primed the model with Bosny Grey primer and began pre-shading the tank with very light coats of Ferricryl black. It was finally time to spray on the first coat of improvised olive drab onto the tank surfaces. I then masked off for the second camouflage color of Dark Earths, which was again a paint I achieved through a mix and match of Van Dyke brown, white and yellow. Once these paint coats had been drying for about 48 hours, I went for the final and most difficult masking of the black camouflage color. The masking itself took me about 3 hours to achieve, and this was done using Play-Doh. It was then time to detail the wheels, the gun, the periscopes and sensors and move on to the decals. The supplied decals were of high quality and conformed nicely to the surface. Finally, after a coat of Della Rowney matte varnish, the tank was ready. And here is the Leopard 2A6M main battle tank of the German army from Panzerbataillon 203, based at Augustdorf in 2010. If you liked my video, go ahead and click on the thumbs up and subscribe. Thank you very much for watching. Adios.